Your microwave is sitting in your kitchen right now, and it could be hiding a fire hazard and invisible radiation risk. Behind familiar brands are documented recalls, lawsuits, and cut-corner parts that can fail under heat. Doors that don't fully cut power, wiring mistakes that overheat the casing, and internal arcing that throws sparks inside the cavity. That danger isn't theoretical when families, seniors, kids, and pregnant women stand inches away every day. Not every microwave is bad, but some are built like traps. We reveal 9 brands to avoid and 2 that are actually safe. Watch until the end. Your next microwave choice may depend on it. 9. Hamilton Beach. Coming in at number 9, we have Hamilton Beach. Hamilton Beach markets itself as the affordable, reliable choice for American families. You walk into a big box retailer like Walmart or Target, and there it is, a budget-friendly solution to your kitchen needs. But this low price tag comes with a hidden cost that the Consumer Product Safety Commission knows all too well. We are charging Hamilton Beach with systemic thermal QC negligence. The evidence of their inability to manage heat is documented in CPSC Recall number 11-265. In this massive safety failure, the company was forced to recall over 300,000 units because the heating elements would not shut off, posing an immediate fire hazard to residential structures. While that specific recall targeted their toaster line, it reveals a terrifying lack of quality control in their thermal management systems. If their engineers cannot stop a simple heating coil from incinerating your kitchen counter, why would you trust them to contain high-energy microwave radiation? The specific failure point in their microwaves is often the door interlock microswitch. This critical safety component is designed to cut power the instant the door opens. In Hamilton Beach units, these switches are often sourced from the lowest bidder. Under the stress of daily heating and cooling, the cheap plastic housing warps. The result? You might open the door, but the switch fails to disengage, potentially exposing you to active radiation or causing the unit to spark and smoke due to electrical arcing. For a senior living alone, a smoking appliance triggers panic, confusion, and a potential call to 911. You paid for convenience. They sold you a fire hazard. Hamilton Beach fails because they can't control the heat. But the next brand on our list fails because of the toxic materials they use to build the machine. 8. Farberware. At number 8, we indict Farberware. This brand commits a specific kind of betrayal, the heritage trap. You recognize the name from your grandmother's pots and pans, a staple of American durability, but the microwave you see stacked in the aisles of Walmart as a Black Friday doorbuster has no connection to that legacy. It is a hollow shell, licensing its name to move units built with Tier 3 components. The evidence against Farberware is sensory and chemical. Thousands of complaints filed with consumer watchdogs describe a distinct, sharp odor emanating from these units, often within weeks of purchase. This is not new appliance smell. It is the smell of thermal failure. We are prosecuting Farberware for using substandard insulation varnish on their high-voltage transformers. In a properly engineered microwave, the copper windings inside the transformer are coated with high-grade varnish to prevent electrical shorts and withstand intense heat. In these budget Farberware units, forensic analysis suggests the use of cheap, low-temperature varnish. As you heat your dinner, the transformer heats up, and this varnish begins to liquefy and scorch. The result is chemical off-gassing. When that varnish burns, it doesn't just smell, it releases particulate matter and potentially carbon monoxide into your kitchen. You are standing inches away, inhaling the byproducts of melting industrial chemicals. For a senior with respiratory issues like COPD or asthma, this invisible smoke is a direct health threat. You bought a microwave to heat soup. Farberware sold you a machine that slowly poisons your indoor air quality to save a few cents on manufacturing. Toxic fumes are invisible, but the danger with our next brand is something you can see and hear exploding right inside the glass. 7. Emerson number 7 brings us to Emerson. This is what we classify as a zombie brand. The Emerson Radio Corp that built your grandfather's television effectively died decades ago. The name you see on shelves at discount retailers like Big Lots or Dollar General is simply a licensed trademark slapped onto the cheapest possible chassis. You aren't buying American history, you are buying a legacy of neglect. We are prosecuting Emerson for hazardous material construction. The first piece of evidence is printed right on the box, often in fine print. It is the California Proposition 65 warning. While many appliances carry this, Emerson units are frequently flagged for specific chemical agents like diboron trioxide used in the manufacturing of the heat-resistant glass and ceramics. This isn't just a regulatory formality. It is an admission that the materials sitting on your countertop contain compounds linked to reproductive harm. But the immediate danger is physical. Emerson microwaves are notorious for a catastrophic failure known as waveguide arcing. The waveguide cover is a small sheet of mica on the right side of the interior wall that protects the magnetron. In Emerson units, this sheet is often dangerously thin and porous. Here is the mechanism of failure. As you heat your food, microscopic grease particles float into the air. A high-quality cover repels them. Emerson's cheap mica sheet absorbs them like a sponge. Over time, this trapped grease carbonizes. It turns into charcoal. Since carbon conducts electricity, the next time you turn the microwave on, the high-voltage energy doesn't cook your food. It arcs directly onto that carbon spot. The result is a terrifying display of miniature lightning inside your kitchen. Violent sparks, loud popping sounds, and the smell of ozone fill the room. For a senior with limited mobility or hearing, this sudden electrical violence can be confusing and terrifying. You trusted a familiar name, but that name is now just a ghost, selling you a fire hazard. Emerson is a relic of the past, but the next brand is actively targeting the millions of renters and students living in dorms right now. 6. Magic Chef. Number 6 is Magic Chef. The name sounds whimsical, promising effortless meals for students and first-time renters. It is the dorm room classic, the go-to brand for landlords stocking rental properties because of its low upfront cost. But behind this friendly branding lies a calculated strategy of planned obsolescence that we are exposing today. We indict Magic Chef for component mortality scheduling. The evidence is overwhelming in the verified reviews on major retailer sites like Home Depot. You will see a disturbing pattern from property managers who bought these units in bulk. They fail almost like clockwork just after the 1-year warranty expires. The primary point of failure is the synchronous turntable motor. In a robust microwave, this motor uses metal gears to rotate your food for even heating. In Magic Chef units, forensic teardowns reveal cheap, soft plastic gears. Under the heat of the cavity, these gears warp and strip. The result is a death rattle, a grinding noise followed by total seizure. Your food stops spinning. It cooks unevenly. And those cold spots we mentioned earlier, they become breeding grounds for bacteria like Salmonella. But the prosecution has a more serious charge: thermal fuse negligence. The thermal cutout is the fuse designed to kill power if the unit overheats. In many Magic Chef models, this fuse is calibrated with a tolerance that is dangerously high. It might be set to trigger at temperatures above the melting point of the internal plastic housing. This means the appliance can literally begin to melt and deform, drooping from the ceiling like a dolly painting before the safety switch ever engages to cut the power. You are trusting a safety device that is asleep at the wheel. A dead motor is annoying. But what if I told you the factory making these cheap microwaves is also secretly manufacturing the premium brand you trust? 5. Galanz. We arrive at number 5, Galanz. You might not recognize the name, but chances are you already have one in your kitchen. Galanz is the shadow manufacturer, the massive OEM monopoly that produces millions of units for trusted American brands like Whirlpool, GE, and countless others. But when they sell under their own name, or when they manufacture exclusive lines for retailers, the mask slips. We are prosecuting Galanz for industrial negligence. The evidence is not just anecdotal, it is federal. We submit into evidence CPSC recall number 20-020. This recall didn't just target a cheap no-name unit. It targeted the Kenmore Elite line, a product marketed as premium, which was manufactured by Galanz. The defect documented by the Consumer Product Safety Commission is terrifying in its simplicity. Incorrect wiring. Think about that. In a modern factory with automated quality control, Galanz shipped thousands of units where the internal wiring was so fundamentally wrong that the microwave turned its own outer casing into a heating element. The data is precise. Government filings record that the exterior metal skin of these microwaves reached temperatures exceeding 183 degrees Fahrenheit. 183 degrees. That is hot enough to cause third-degree burns to a child's hand in less than a second. It is hot enough to scorch cabinetry. It is hot enough to ignite nearby paper towels. This wasn't a malfunction in the traditional sense. It was a total failure of the assembly process. When you buy a Galanz, you're buying from a factory that prioritized speed over the basic schematic of the machine. They wired the safety ground to the live current. If they can make that mistake on a luxury line, what are they doing to the budget unit you just bought for $60? Galanz hides in the shadows. The next brand hides behind a legacy of famous blenders, but their microwaves are losing all control. 4. Oster number 4 brings us to Oster. This brand rests on a century of trust built by its legendary blenders. You see the Oster logo and think, durable, powerful, American. But when that logo is stamped onto a microwave, it becomes a mask for one of the most dangerous defects in the appliance industry: loss of command. We are prosecuting Oster for critical interface failure. The evidence is physical and widespread. Owners of Oster microwaves consistently report a specific terrifying malfunction. The control panel begins to bubble and peel away from the chassis. This is known in engineering terms as membrane switch delamination. But the real danger is happening underneath that bubbling plastic. Inside the keypad, Oster uses conductive silver ink printed on thin plastic sheets to register your touch. In a properly sealed unit, this ink is protected. But in these Oster models, the steam from your food, the very thing the machine is designed to create, penetrates the cheap adhesive seal. When moisture meets that silver ink, it causes silver migration and corrosion. The electrical pathways literally rust away. And which button fails first? The one you press the most. Stop/cancel. Imagine this scenario. You are popping popcorn. Suddenly the bag catches fire. Smoke fills the cavity. Your instinct is to hit stop. You press it once. Nothing. You press it again. Harder. The button is dead. The microwave continues to pump energy into the fire, feeding the flames, while the fan spreads toxic smoke into your kitchen. Your only option is to reach behind a burning appliance to yank the plug, or risk opening the door and feeding oxygen to the fire. A microwave you cannot stop is not an appliance. It is a runaway reactor. Oster sold you a machine with a kill switch made of dissolving ink. A peeling button is frustrating, but the next brand proves that paying premium prices for advanced tech might actually be more dangerous. 3. Panasonic number 3 is a shock to many. Panasonic. This brand commands respect. They invented the inverter technology that promises evenly cooked food without the rubbery edges. You pay a premium, sometimes double the price of a standard unit, believing that Japanese engineering equals longevity. But we are prosecuting Panasonic for over-engineering without durability. The evidence is not a physical fire, but a digital death sentence. It appears on the display as a cryptic message that thousands of owners have learned to dread. Error code H97 and error code H98. In a standard microwave, the power comes from a massive, dumb, and incredibly durable high-voltage transformer. It rarely breaks. Panasonic replaced that tank-like component with a delicate, lightweight circuit board called the inverter board. Forensic analysis of dead units reveals the culprit: IGBT failure. The insulated gate bipolar transistors on these boards are the high-speed switches that control the power. They generate immense heat. In compact Panasonic models, the heat dissipation is often insufficient. After just a few years of daily use, these transistors suffer from thermal runaway and short out. The symptom is specific. You press start. The microwave runs for exactly 3 seconds. Then it shuts dead. This is the inverter trap. When a standard transformer dies, a technician can replace it. When a Panasonic inverter board dies, you are held hostage. The replacement part is proprietary and exorbitantly expensive, often costing as much as a brand new microwave. You didn't buy an appliance. You bought a disposable computer that cooks your dinner. They sold you innovation. But they delivered a machine designed to become e-waste the moment a single transistor overheats. Panasonic fails because the tech is too complex. The next brand fails despite being a Japanese legend, and they got sued in a federal court for it. 2. Sharp. We enter the danger zone at number 2 with Sharp. This brand was once the gold standard. Sharp effectively invented the consumer microwave market in the 1960s. They built their reputation on Japanese precision and carousel reliability. But today, we are prosecuting Sharp not for being cheap, but for charging you a fortune for a product that was legally alleged to be defective. We submit into evidence the class action lawsuit, Ham versus Sharp Electronics Corporation. This lawsuit didn't target a budget model sold at a discount store. It targeted the Sharp microwave drawer, the ultra-premium built-in appliance that costs homeowners over $1,000. You buy this unit for your dream kitchen, expecting the highest tier of safety and engineering. What the plaintiffs alleged, and what forensic analysis confirms, is a catastrophic arcing defect. In these high-end drawers, the waveguide cover, the shield protecting the magnetron, is positioned in a way that makes it susceptible to failure. The lawsuit details how this component can fail during normal use, causing violent electrical arcing. Owners describe terrifying scenes of smoke, sparks, and actual flames shooting inside their expensive cabinetry. The betrayal here is financial and physical. You paid a premium price, 10 times the cost of a standard unit, believing it bought you immunity from these problems. Instead, the federal class action lawsuit revealed you may have bought a built-in fire hazard that's difficult to remove and expensive to replace. Sharp promised innovation with their drawer design. What they delivered was a hidden defect that turned luxury kitchens into potential crime scenes. A class action lawsuit is bad, but the #1 brand is the ultimate betrayal because it traded its legendary reputation for cheap parts, and you fell for it. 1. Toshiba. And finally, we reach the #1 spot. The ultimate betrayal, Toshiba. The name carries the weight of history. For decades, Toshiba represented the absolute pinnacle of Japanese innovation, precision, and safety. When you see that logo on a microwave, you expect an appliance engineered to last a decade. You expect the same quality that built the world's most advanced electronics. But we are prosecuting Toshiba for corporate identity theft. The Toshiba microwave you buy today is Toshiba in name only. In 2016, the control of Toshiba's home appliance division was sold to the Midea Group, a massive Chinese conglomerate. The engineering DNA that defined the brand has been replaced by the mass-market cost-cutting strategies of its new owner. You are paying a premium for a Japanese legacy that is actually a rebranded unit from the same factories pumping out budget appliances. The evidence of this decline is audible. Owners of modern Toshiba units, specifically the best-selling models on Amazon, report a distinct, aggressive noise, the Toshiba buzz. This is not normal operation, it is magnetron resonance. In these Midea-built units, the magnetron and high-voltage transformer are often mounted with insufficient dampening. When the unit engages, it vibrates violently at a frequency that shakes the entire chassis. This isn't just an annoyance, it is a structural hazard. We call this mechanism high-voltage connector fatigue. Inside the microwave, the wires connecting the transformer to the magnetron carry thousands of volts. They are held in place by simple spade terminals. Under the constant violent vibration of the Toshiba buzz, these metal connectors eventually loosen. Physics takes over from there. A loose connection in a high-voltage circuit creates resistance. Resistance creates heat. Heat creates electrical arcing. This explains the terrifying reports of Toshiba units that suddenly begin shooting sparks internally, or simply die with a loud pop as the connection severs completely. You are standing in front of a machine that is literally shaking itself apart from the inside while carrying enough voltage to stop a human heart. The betrayal runs deep because Toshiba is the default choice for safety-conscious buyers. You bought the brand specifically to avoid the risks of cheap manufacturers, only to discover that the brand is the cheap manufacturer in disguise. Don't leave yet. The real safe solution is waiting for you right after this. 1. Breville. Now we present the evidence for the defense. The first microwave that actually deserves a spot on your counter, Breville. If the previous brands were defined by cost-cutting, Breville is defined by over-engineering. Yes, the price tag is significantly higher, often triple the cost of a standard unit, but forensic analysis of the internal components reveals exactly where that money goes. We recommend Breville primarily for its sensor IQ technology. Most microwaves claim to have sensor cooking, but in budget models, this is often a marketing lie. They use simple timers or weight calculations to guess when your food is done. Breville uses a genuine humidity sensor. This component actively samples the airflow inside the cavity to detect the precise moment steam is released from your food. Why is this a safety feature? Because the #1 cause of microwave fires is user error, overheating food until it desiccates and ignites. The sensor IQ acts as a failsafe, cutting the power the moment the physics of the food change, and preventing the thermal runaway that leads to kitchen fires. However, as your objective investigators, we must enter a specific warning into the record. Breville units often feature a soft close door. It feels premium. It closes silently without the jarring clunk of cheap units. But this mechanism relies on complex dampers and springs. Unlike a simple mechanical latch, the soft close door is a wear item. If you slam it like a cheap microwave, it will fail after 3 to 5 years. The trade-off is clear. You get superior fire safety and food quality, but you must treat the machine with respect. It is a precision instrument, not a brute force box. If you want the safety of a Breville, but prefer a tank-like build that can take a beating, the next and final recommendation is the old reliable of the American kitchen. 2. KitchenAid. Our final verdict for a safe kitchen brings us to a brand that learned safety the hard way, KitchenAid. We recommend KitchenAid not because they have a perfect record, but because they have a redemption record. In forensic auditing, we look for companies that have survived a major failure and rebuilt their protocols from the ground up. In 2001, this brand faced a massive crisis. CPSC recall number 02-018. Over 1.8 million units were recalled due to a fire hazard in the door panel. It was a catastrophic failure of trust, but unlike brands that hide behind relabeling schemes or shell companies, KitchenAid, backed by the engineering might of Whirlpool Corporation, overcorrected. They didn't just fix the latch, they reinforced the entire machine. The evidence is in the weight. Go to a showroom and open the door of a KitchenAid unit. Then go open a $60 Galanz or Emerson. The difference is palpable. The KitchenAid door feels heavy. It latches with a distinct mechanical thud, not a hollow plastic click. This is the solid-state chassis. Microwave radiation is contained by the Faraday cage, the metal mesh inside the glass, and the steel walls of the box. In budget units, this metal is thin. It warps. It leaks. KitchenAid uses heavy-gauge steel. This density isn't just for show. It maintains the structural integrity of the radiation shield for decades, not just years. When you buy a KitchenAid today, you are buying the result of that 2001 lesson. You are paying for the corporate memory of a company that knows exactly how expensive a fire lawsuit can be and has engineered their product to ensure it never happens again. It is an investment in peace of mind. No more worrying about sparks, smoke, or radiation leakage. No more wondering if today is the day your appliance fails. Just reliable heating day after day, year after year. So here is the bottom line. Safe microwaves are built on heavy shielding, precise sensors, and accountability. Dangerous ones are built on cheap microswitches, thin wiring, and hidden recalls. Now, do me a favor, walk into your kitchen and check the brand on your counter right now. Is it a ticking time bomb like Galanz or a fortress like Breville? Drop the name in the comments below. Let's help each other avoid radiation leaks and silent fire risks. If you refuse to gamble with invisible waves and overheating circuits, hit like and subscribe. We investigate what corporations hide behind their legacy names. Stay alert, stay shielded, and I'll see you in the next case.